What a game at Old Trafford. Manchester United 3, Fulham 2. Steve Bruce with the winner. Alex Ferguson and Brian Kidd going crazy on the touchline. It just took me back, Shaka Hislop. It really did. What is more important, or are they just as important, the 3 points or the manner of that for Manchester United, having been pegged back to 2-2 in stoppage time and still finding time to win it?
Well, without question, I think they go hand in hand. But you look at the manner, and not just the manner in scoring late goals, and to your point, Mark, Manchester United kind of have a history of doing exactly this. But this version of Man U and all the criticism they've endured, and then you put together 2 results as you did in the previous 2, and we sit here and give them their praise, but say it's not necessarily about those big results against Arsenal and Manchester City. It's how you follow those up. And then Manchester United at home to Fulham go 2-up, and you think this is an inevitability. Fulham are sterner stuff, excuse me, than maybe the Uniteds of back when United was really good under Sir Alex. Fulham have shown themselves to be a far better footballing team than back in those days, and you just wondered if an upset was on the cards, an upset in Fulham taking a point at Old Trafford. But then Šeško turns up, and while he could have scored with what I think was his first touch on the park to make it 3-0, the moment, the timing, and again, given the context of United's results under Michael Carrick, this is as huge a 3 points as Manchester United could hope for or expect.
Yeah, back up to 4th above Chelsea, who had their own dramatic 3-2 win yesterday. There's so many narratives from this one, and the narrative changed like a pendulum, because at 2-0, you're thinking, wow, there's a swagger about this Man United. Then you thought it was 2-1, but Chukwueze was the player who was offside, so that goal was disallowed. Then there was a penalty that Harry Maguire was clumsy with a challenge. It was a good decision, and you think maybe consolation. Then it's 2-2, and the narrative swings to Man United fragile. What's going on? Then they win it. What's the main narrative from this one?
Well, the main narrative is that Manchester United win it, and win it very late on. You look at the goal scorers, Casemiro continuing to contribute significantly, certainly ever since Amorim has left. Šeško, who, I'll be honest, I have been very critical of all season, having a huge impact coming off the bench. But it's about managing the game. And I thought in the first half, Manchester United were the better of the 2 teams. I thought the way they pressed Fulham and were rewarded for it. I thought they dominated possession and position on the park. But then in the second half, I thought, as I mentioned, this is a very different Fulham today than it was 20 or 30 years ago. I thought they came into on the second half and were able to put Manchester United on the back foot in a way that I certainly didn't expect in the first 45, and were rewarded for it. As you mentioned, almost could have had that first goal, Chukwueze and then Cuenca as well, both offside for me. And then the penalty, yes, Harry Maguire was late. Question marks about the run-up from Raul Jimenez. I thought there were a few stops in there. Somehow he got away with it. Then that equalizer, absolutely incredible. And then bloody Šeško pops up as he does. And that late on, after the deflating equalizer, I thought this Manchester United, we questioned exactly who they were. It's easy to get up for games against Arsenal and Manchester City. It's far more difficult at home to Fulham, especially when you get that gut punch. But all of a sudden, I thought the response was absolutely brilliant.
Michael Carrick has now won his first 3 Premier League games in charge of Manchester United. Ruben Amorim only did that once. What's he done differently, Carrick?
Well, he's put players in their usual positions. He's not tried to overthink this. He's put 4 defenders across the back, 3 midfielders, and then he has a front 3 that works wonderfully well. Mbeumo, I could continue to be a huge fan of leading the line. You've got Bruno Fernandes playing in a more attacking position. You've got Ahmad, who continues to contribute in his way. Cunha as well, who maybe didn't have the best of first house, but again, contributing with his goal. He's just put players in positions that make sense and told them, go out and play football. Not try to tinker and make this into something that it's not. Kobe Mainoo is a perfect example of all that is different between Manchester United under Amorim and Manchester United under Michael Carrick. Very good player, just asked to play a position, do the things you do naturally, and we're a good enough team to figure it out. That's just who Manchester United have been over the last 3 games.
Only 3 Manchester United managers have won their first 3 games in the Premier League. Remember, football began in 1992, of course, with the invention of the Premier League. Jose Mourinho was one, Carrick's obviously another, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, this is very similar. This is very, very similar. Caretaker boss comes in, does really well to begin with, right? Let's not go down the road. That's for another time. And it's been discussed before about the dangers of appointing an interim or a caretaker based on how they do. However, what can Manchester United learn, the hierarchy, who ultimately are the reason why United have been in the doldrums, not so much the managers, it's higher up the food chain. So what can the hierarchy learn and ensure the mistakes don't happen again from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's initial successful time as caretaker compared with Michael Carrick's successful start?
That's a good question, Mark. And here's the conundrum for me. Just because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer started so wonderfully well and then things fizzled, to put it nicely, doesn't mean that it's going to happen with Michael Carrick or anybody else. All you can go on is what you see before you. And I admit I'm biased towards Michael Carrick. This start, okay, it's 3 games. There's a long time between now and the end of the season. I don't think changes anything about Manchester United's long-term thinking, about the discussions they're having right now. When Ruben Amorim was fired, the thought was, let's bring in an interim, let's wait till the summer, let's see what managers are available post-World Cup. I think that is and maybe should, and I say maybe, should still be the case. Let's just wait and see to then if we are able to bring in a more experienced manager, somebody that can lead this club back into Europe, back into European success, back into domestic success. That's the thinking right now. Now, Michael Carrick, his responsibility is to change that thinking, to put together a run of results between now and the end of the season that makes the hierarchy, and if you ask me, they're the biggest problem in the football club, but that's for another conversation another time. Make them think, do we already have the right man in place? Somebody who knows this club, who's represented this club, who loves this club. That's Michael Carrick's responsibility between now and the end of the season. We see how that goes. And then you make a decision. But as of right now, 1st of February, the thinking is no different than it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, I think the hierarchy need to be in a position to adopt the mantra of a manager, one game at a time. See how it goes, while working in the background to have potentially other options if it doesn't work. They should have been doing that anyway. You don't fire a manager, hire a caretaker, not have another plan, whether it goes right or wrong. But this is a Man United side that's lost 1 in the Premier League since the end of November. They're currently 4th. Now, England will get 5 Champions League spots because their teams in Europe are doing so well this year. It's 99.9% certain that they'll get 5. But one of these teams is going to miss out. Arsenal, Man City, Aston Villa, Man United, Chelsea, and Liverpool. And it ain't going to be Arsenal or Manchester City. So it's 3 from 4. Arsenal and City are likely to be the top 2 in whichever order you would think. Then Villa, Man United, Chelsea, or Liverpool. Given where they are right now and the momentum they have, how confident can United be that they will be one of the 3 not the one that miss out, to get top 5 in Champions League football and the riches that comes with it?
Well, to answer your question, Manchester United cannot and should not be confident. That's not the approach. We can be confident on the other side. We can make those projections, but Manchester United cannot take any. Well, nobody can take anything for granted. 1st of February, we can make those speculations. So I'll go ahead and say what I think.
Okay.
How this plays out. I think Manchester United make top 4, top 5. Villa, who had a very disappointing result today, and you've heard Unai Emery kind of suggest that this isn't a great version of Aston Villa, and whether we're good enough to finish top 4, top 5. He's not expressed too much confidence around that, but Unai Emery has been there, seen there, and done it, and we know he can get a tune out of this Villa team. Today's result, aside result and performance. I think it's 2 out of the 3 of Villa, Chelsea, Liverpool. Liverpool, good result yesterday, good performance against another of my former clubs. But Liverpool have been so desperately inconsistent. Now, all of a sudden, Florian Wirtz is seeming to find form. If he continues in this vein of form, I think Liverpool continue in this vein of form, they make it. Chelsea, I'm not that convinced about. Liam Rosenior has come in, has done well. Shaky start yesterday with a much changed team, made changes, got a result. But I just wonder, of that 6, I think Chelsea right now are the most likely to miss out on a top 5. I just wonder about their consistency and maybe the experience of Liam Rosenior in the, I don't want to say long term because we're only talking now to the end of the season, but maybe his inexperience comes back to cost Chelsea between now and the end of the season.
I was impressed by Fulham after they went 2-0 down. And look, that happens to teams who played in games whereby you've got nothing to lose. You don't fear the consequences. It's just like, right, we need to do something to get back into the game. And they did. Chukwueze, he reminds me of Adama Traore with more talent, but not quite as much pace. There's more of an end product. I'd hate to be the fullback trying to mark him. Raul Jimenez, from that concussion issue that he had getting kicked in the head, has come back really well. Harry Wilson's a gem of a player. Smith Rowe played today as well, but was substituted. They are, for me, the kind of steady. They're like a Brentford who won at Villa. We'll discuss that shortly. They're that kind of under the radar. No one really talks about them. Bournemouth, but they've got some really good players, and they're happy not to be spoken about.
Absolutely, and they've got an incredible manager, Marco Silva. I think, and again, I remember Fulham from my day, and that version of Fulham, there's
Rodney Marsh.
No way that Fulham. Well, no, that's well before my day. But that version of Fulham, there's no way. Well, kind of in between the Premier League and times of Championship, there's no way that version of Fulham, even at their best, could even dream of going to Old Trafford and putting up a fight as they did. You mentioned the talents that they have. And I've got to talk about Kevin, who I mean, what a goal that is. Fulham continue to unearth these gems. They continue to bring in talent and experience in at times and in positions that they desperately need. This is a very good footballing team. I thought in the first half they were a little bit negative in that they sat back, kind of invited some of the pressure from Manchester United, were happy to hit on the counter-attack. At times I thought they were overplaying at the back and inviting that pressure from Manchester United. But they played and pressed far higher up the park in the second half. And that's when I thought you saw the best of their talents, and they were rewarded for it. Well, in getting back on even terms, again, cruel end to this game. Maybe Manchester United deserved it over the course of 90 minutes, but I thought the second half showed exactly how good this Fulham team can be when they play on the front foot. Marco Silva certainly has built an outfit that no one can take for granted. Maybe they continue to fly under the radar, but you see Fulham up next in your schedule, you know you're in for a game.
Yeah, they're at home at Craven Cottage next up. Just a word on Kevin, because he scored a similar goal in stoppage time as well against Middlesbrough recently in the FA Cup. And I mean, look, you and I have covered Brazilian football in the past. There's some gems there. I commentated on Neymar when he was at Santos. This is a kid that was at Palmeiras, and Shakhtar Donetsk paid 12 million for him. That's a lot of money. Fulham paid a club record 34.6 million to get Kevin, and he's off the bench right now. But is it a little bit like rugby, Shaka? And I know the Six Nations is just around the corner, whereby it's not really about whether you kind of play or don't play. It's about starters and finishers. And if you can get defenses to try and cope with Chukwueze for 60 minutes, and then Kevin comes on for the last 30 minutes, you're not really weakening the side, are you?
No, you're not. And you're giving defenses something different to think about. Listen, I cannot help. Maybe it's a little bit cliched, a little bit stereotypical, but draw comparisons to another Brazilian, a stone's throw away from Craven Cottage, in Estevao, who similarly came off the bench to start with, but now seen as a starter at Chelsea and continues to have incredible impacts. Kevin will do the same. Coming off the bench to start with, you to your point, as a defender, as a right back, you deal with Chukwueze, and then you see Kevin coming off the bench, and it's a very different threat. Now all of a sudden you have to change your mindset as to how you play him, and that's a difficult ask for not just right backs, any defense. That right-sided centre back, how do you come over and cover when Kevin has those little exchange of passes, and you can see him coming off that flank and do as he did again today? That's a very difficult ask, and that's an incredible talent to have in a young player like Kevin. What he's able to bring, and giving Marco Silva a real, I don't want to say a problem, because managers will say that's a problem they love having. Who do you start with? Maybe you change depending on who the opponent is. That's an incredible asset to have, not just for right now in terms of coming off the bench, but in terms of the longer term.